Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night to all of you. This is Pradeep from signing off from Sydney in Australia. It is 6:30 p.m. in Sydney, and like I said, wish you a very happy morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is in your part of the world. I certainly know that there are people from all parts of the world because I know that there is Ritu who is going to be conducting the fireside session from UK, and there is Indra who's going to be in the target zone from India. But let's kick off. On behalf of InSquare, I am delighted to welcome you to this session, which is on inspiring role models, for lack of any other words. So, what is InSquare? InSquare is an initiative which has been formed by a couple of IIT Delhi alumni as well as some like minded people with a strong focus on emerging trends, inclusion, and sustainability. What we have seen in the last 2.5 years or so is a brave new world which is emerging. A brave new world where the future of work, future of skills, and future of education are converging. It's a brave new world where we are constantly being required to innovate and adapt. It's a brave new world where we are heading into the great resignation, where people are now valuing work life balance much more, having worked from home for such a long period of time. However, in the brave new world, we are seeing that there is unequal impacts on different people. Women, for example, have been quite severely impacted during the pandemic. They have been not only managing work and home, but in many cases also doing homeschooling. No wonder there has been no work life boundaries at all. So, but from an inclusion perspective, it is not just looking at a social objective in terms of diversity and equal opportunities. It is about leveraging how a diverse workforce can add significant value at an individual and at an organization level. It is about how do we get a multidisciplinary perspective in play. However, there are barriers to inclusion. Recently, we had conducting a session on imposter syndrome and how imposter syndrome impacts much more severely on women. So, how do we address the barriers for inclusion? And one of them is through role models. As what do role models do? They inspire, they create visibility of what they have done, and they also create a much stronger bonding between the family and friends, apart from a lot of other things. So, today's session is all about absolutely fabulous, not one but two role models. To introduce the first role model, I am delighted to introduce Ritu Kataky, whom I know potentially I should have known from the time that I was in IIT, but I only discovered her in the last couple of years. She, while has been an IIT Delhi alumni, has spent significant part of her time in UK, where she has been blazing trails in number of positions that she's undertaken, sometimes possibly as the first ethnic professor or sometimes as a first woman. But apart from being an academic and a researcher, Ritu also is an entrepreneur. Now, how well she blends her academic and entrepreneurial skills, I will find out later on. But Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to Ritu. And Ritu will have a fireside chat with another role model. But for that, over to Ritu.
Hello. Thank you, Pradeep, for your kind introduction. I don't think I deserve such accolades. The person who deserves accolades, I'm about to have a chat with her. Professor Indra Kumari Varma is phenomenal in her achievements. We go back to 1954, from which point she will take us on her academic journey. She's an incredible lady. I remember her as this beautiful, dynamic, intelligent lecturer who came to into our classroom. The classroom lit up, and she taught us organic chemistry so well. I still remember the fundamentals. So thank you for that. Professor Varma has a long and distinguished career, which she will tell us about. She joined IIT Delhi as a lecturer in 1966. And in 1976, she was appointed first woman professor across all the 5 IITs at that time. She has many, many accolades and achievements under her belt. I do not have time to go through all of them, but we will circulate her achievements in due course. I will just highlight some very important achievements. One is her work with NASA. Did you know that she worked with NASA between 79 and 81, developing flame retardant polymers that are widely used? And then her second big achievement is receiving an honorary doctorate from Stockholm University for her work with biodegradable polymers. That's such an in subject. It's such a modern subject. And she has done a lot of work with these biodegradable polymers. For all her work and for all her achievements, the Indian Chemical Council awarded her with a Lifetime Achievement Award for contributions to Indian chemical industry in 2015. There are many, many more, but I will talk with Professor Varma, and hopefully her achievements and what she has managed to go through in her life will come out. Okay, so thank you very much for being with us, and thank you for agreeing to this chat, Professor Varma. So with this, let's start.
Thank you.
And the other thing, I like the audience to participate, to ask questions, please. This is meant to be a very informal chat. So first of all, Professor Varma, please let us know how you started your career in science and what inspired you.
Thank you. And also my greetings to all of you for being here and welcoming me in this organization. I'm really very thankful to all the organizers for being here in the afternoon. What I would like to say that you have asked what inspired me to work in science. See, I'm talking of a period where science education was not favored in the girls. There were very few girls doing science at that time. And so many schools did not have science girls schools. Boys were all right. They had a lot of science in with them. Many colleges, schools for them, but not for girls. There was only one girls institute which was teaching science at the high school level, 10th level, and also continued up to the 12th level. And now we were studying in mission school, and that mission school didn't have science. It has mathematics all right, but science was not there. So my high school, that means 10th grade, I have done without any chemistry or physics or science, only mathematics. And then my elder brother, there was no career counselor, there was no question of a girl going through a particular career. So one of my elder brother, actually, who has done graduation from Allahabad University in biology, and then he joined King George Medical College, Lucknow. And he said that you have to think a career in future, and science is the basis for that. So in 11th grade, you must take science. Now the problem was that there was no other school for science. There were only one school, and that was admitting only people who have taken science in the 9th and 10th grade. Now we were not able to get easily, but suddenly, as luck would have favored me, it was announced in the newspaper that the other school, which was established some times back, is offering science course from that year. And they were not insisting on students which did not have science at 9th and 10th. So we applied there and got admitted, myself, my elder sister, and one of our friends. So we were all together at the same time. So all of us offered science. Now there was another problem, how to commute from my residence to the school, which was slightly a distance away about 4 kilometers. That 4 kilometers was a long distance at that time because neither the buses were available and nor we have any car available to us. So it was our principal who was very kind enough, and she said that you could accompany me in my Tonga to the school. And that's how we started going to the school and did our 12th grade. And after doing the 12th grade, again, my brother has said that you should try for medical. And I tried for medical, but I was told that I was underage and I can't compete for at least for 2 years. So that was another restriction, and there was no alternative left but to join Allahabad University in the Department of Science. And I have taken zoology, botany, and chemistry at the subjects there. And I did very well in botany, and also I did well in the chemistry. But ultimately, I decided to continue with chemistry, and that's how I entered in the chemistry department. So it was only luck that has just taken to chemistry. It's not that I was very much interested in chemistry, though I have heard of Madame Curie and about the Nobel Prize. And the dream was that someday I may get a Nobel Prize in chemistry. So with that dream in mind, I started doing my M.Sc in chemistry and Ph.D. in chemistry, D.Phil from Allahabad University. Now, things were very different than what they are now. Say, very few girls were opting for science, and these girls were in minority. The boys were always in majority, and so we were scared. So normally, what precaution we did was we were standing outside the classroom, and when the teacher entered the classroom, we follow him. The first few benches were reserved for girls, and we sat on that. So that sort of isolation was done voluntarily, and that was all we did in the university, B.Sc, M.Sc, chemistry. And then I would say that in a class of about 50 students, there was only very few girls, 6 or 7 girls, and the ours was considered as a big batch of girl students in a class of 50. And then we went for, I specialized in organic chemistry, and after organic chemistry, I joined the Ph.D. program in the case of enzymic chemistry. So I turned to, from organic, I started working my D.Phil, they used to call it, D.Phil degree in enzymic reactions of papain. So it was a biochemistry related problem, and we were girl students who were working on different areas in the same lab. So it was a sort of good luck that I got admission. The girls were always a sort of isolation. They had a common room, and we used to sit in that common room during our vacant periods or whatever other activities was there. And we were away from the boys. So all the time there was this planning that the girls and boys should not meet occasionally, just only in the classroom. And that's what the fear always, because the boys are very notorious. So after doing these things, I did my M.Sc in 54 to 58, and 2 years B.Sc and 2 years M.Sc. So in 58, I did my M.Sc, and then I did Ph.D. in 61, and then I got married. And my husband, he came from UK. He was doing PhD there in Glasgow University. So I went with him to Glasgow University, and there professor offered me a program, Distler Scholarship, in a polymer-related subject, and that was on thermally stable polymers. So that's where, for the first time, I entered the field of polymer science, and you can say that's where I got my goal And that this is what I. So till that time, I was just wandering, meandering along to find a place to stay and carry out my research. So I did work in Ph.D. and things were, job situation was very bad in India. It was after independence, there were only few labs, there were only few offices where jobs were available. So while I was in UK, I applied for a well-known company in India with a head office which was well established internationally for a job. I said, I have these qualifications. Can I get a job there? The reply I got was surprising, saying that this company in India does not take girls candidates on any
Amazing.
scientific position
Amazing.
except only in secretarial jobs. So I was totally disappointed that there is no industry available who will accept me when I return. So I returned from after doing my PhD work, and I had my daughter born in England, and I was carrying my son when I came here. So in India, we returned in 65, and then 66, and here I say that there's some superpower. What happened that my professor in Glasgow was going to Malaysia and he stopped in IIT Delhi because IIT Delhi has funding or collaboration with UK government. So there was a mutual understanding. So he stayed here. And the head of the department of chemical group asked him to suggest a name who can we take it as a faculty member. And he suggested my name. He was very much impressed by hard work in Glasgow, and he always was surprised that how could I work with a very small baby and continue and devote so much time in the lab. And that is what, because I had strong support from my husband. He supported me to carry out the research work, and he looked after the baby during my absence. So that's how somehow we managed. And I was happy that when we returned to India, CSIR appointed me, gave me a pool position. And in that pool position, I joined the institute. So I say that it was sheer luck that if Professor Ritchie had not gone to Malaysia, no one would have talked about me to head of chemistry. And I got a letter from there that we would like to interview you because Professor Ritchie has recommended your name. And so interview were held and I was selected April. So this is all, I tell you, a good luck that favored me to get a job at IIT Delhi, which I joined in 66, as you have mentioned. So this is one part of my career. Yes.
Amazing, amazing journey from going to your university in a Tonga, in a Tonga.
Yeah, yeah, it was Tonga. That was the only transport. That was the only transport which was easily available.
Incredible journey, and as you said, it's serendipitous. It's it worked out. It was meant to be for you. It worked out, and you were meant to be a polymer chemist. It's a truly, truly amazing journey, and I'm sure we'll find out later on how you progressed in your career.
So yes, sorry.
Yeah. So yes, you were going to say.
I was trying to say that there was no one big instance or inspiration. It is just I was meandering from here to here that I got back to chemistry. So it is all the good luck that favored me. And for that,
and
I'm
hard work, good and hard work, I'm sure.
Ritu, this is Pradeep. I just want to ask Indra a question. Indra, you were going in a Tonga when you were in school. So how were you traveling when you were in the university? Was it also in a Tonga?
I was cycling. I had a bicycle and I used to go by bicycle to the university. The university was not that far off. So you can use cycle. And also the road was very good, very little traffic on that road. So I could go easily to Allahabad University. So that was not difficult.
So when you used to go on a cycle, were you kind of a unique spectacle that people used to see a girl going on a cycle?
No, but that was accepted. With that part of the Allahabad, which is more peaceful and quiet, their cycle was acceptable. But I could not have gone to other places in Allahabad where there was too much crowd and I was unable to drive. So this cycling I could not have done to my school. So we took the help of our principal, and who was really very good and nice and gave me the ride. And so we were
you mentioned that you did your PhD partly in India and partly in Glasgow. So in India, was it from Allahabad University that you were doing your PhD, or where was it?
Yeah, Allahabad University. It was all Allahabad. All
So
my
did you
education
did
was
you
from
complete
Allahabad.
your PhD in Allahabad University?
Yes, yes, I have done. 61 I completed, 58 I
Yeah.
joined, and 61 I completed.
And then you
And
did
then I
another
got
PhD in Glasgow.
the 62 when I was married, I went to Glasgow. Initially, I was in Allahabad, and now I have taken a overseas journey and going to Glasgow.
Glasgow.
And the Glasgow
Okay.
University offered me a Distillers Company fellowship to continue instead of sitting at home. It was boring. So he offered me this position and I joined on that one. That was on synthetic polymers. And the guide was very nice. And the project was on stable polymers, thermally stable polymers. That was the project. So I worked on degradation mechanism, stability, and all that. I used several instrumental techniques in my analysis. So that was the exposure, good exposure of all different types of techniques. And that always, in Allahabad, it was so many equipments were not there. It was a sort of urate pipette and titrations type of
Of
thing.
course, yeah.
But there it was well-equipped lab and with
Yeah.
all normal facilities that should be in a chemistry lab. And I enjoyed working.
So last
Yeah.
question from me before I go back to Ritu is that when you joined IIT Delhi, then were you again a unique person, or because you were the first lady professor?
No, no, no. I joined as a lecturer initially.
Understand. But were there any
77.
other females in IIT Delhi at that time?
There were few females, other departments. I means I was not very friendly with more. So when I joined IIT, that was also a coming up institution in the sense that the building was not complete. There was only one big room where many department faculty was sitting together. So that was also a decent stage. So IIT Delhi was getting established, and I'm very happy that I joined it in the initial stages of establishment.
Fabulous. Back to you,
So,
Ritu.
okay. So very, very interesting. So can you just tell us a little bit about what were your highlights of your journey? What did you enjoy most in your career?
So I
What were
have
the good things?
say one thing I must say that I enjoyed was teaching. Teaching at IIT was a very great pleasure because the students were very intelligent and one has to be always interactive with them. So it is a very good quality students that are in IIT, and the way they ask intelligent questions that makes you work hard to teach them next class. So that was students of IIT that helped me a lot. And then I have interaction with the other department faculty of my own department. So there were many people who were coming and going because people were trying to just explore the possible avenues for stay. But I was determined I'll not leave this place because my husband also was appointed in the textile department. So both of us were in the same institution and we were enjoying our stays. So that's how I continued in this
Yeah. So
IIT.
So teaching was what you enjoyed most, interacting with
Yeah,
the
teaching the
students.
most. And then the things which I enjoyed that was I was working in, as I was working on thermally stable polymers. So
Yes.
I got a senior resident research associateship at NASA, Moffett Field, California. So I went there, say 79 to 81. And here also, I enjoyed my stay. And that was the second place where I really enjoyed my stay because I saw a lot of space-related activities there. And these space-related activities, say we have this space shuttle developed and it was coming back. So all those incidents we were watching. The most important thing that happened there was, since I was working on thermally stable polymers or fiber stable materials, so I worked on phosphorus nitrogen containing compound, and that polymer that I developed, it did not burn. It was just stable. It was a composite material we prepared from it using carbon fibers. And everyone, my lab in charge professor, he did not believe that the polymer is not working. So he came into the lab and he says to show me that it's not working. So we did the work with a high oxygen content flame and the material did not burn. So they defined a term called as high with LOI, limiting oxygen index. So it was surpassing 100. That means even in pure oxygen, the polymer did not burn. So I see the commotion that was there. The whole lab was celebrating, and chief of the lab wrote to the head office that we were working in this area, and now we have developed a polymer which is not burning at all. So that sort of commotion, that excitement, where my family was
Of course,
also,
yes. Yeah.
everyone was involved, and I got US patents for that work and was cited everywhere and certificate of recognition. So that is one thing that was a great pleasure for me, that helped me to enjoy my work. And another thing happened that in 1996, that is almost 12, 13 years after this incident, and when we had developed materials for ISRO, also Indian Space Research Organization, and I used to visit that organization also quite often. So in a seminar, I met a lady professor from Switzerland, from Sweden, Professor Anne Christine Albertson. And she was working on biodegradable polymers. And she said that you people are working on biostable polymers, they are creating pollution. And we have to look forward for materials which will not accumulate in the environment. And I was impressed by her thinking. And I worked together with her in Sweden, Stockholm. And that was another challenging work which I enjoyed. So there are, now it was, later part was my research was biodegradable polymers. And on that work, I got the honorary doctorate degree from Royal Institute of Science, Technology, Sweden.
Yeah, yeah.
So these are the two highlights of my career. That
yes, remarkable achievements, which not many of us know about. You know, I'm glad we've had this chat session, so more people know about what you have achieved. And, you know, during your career, you must have had some struggles as well, some worries, some struggles. And it's also important for us to know about what your struggles and your worries were, because, you know, a lot of people
I couldn't follow the question.
You must have had some sort of worries and some sort of struggles during your career as well. You know, everything is not plain sailing.
Yeah.
So it is nice for the audience, especially people like me, women struggling in their careers, to know what your struggles were and how you overcame them.
What my struggles are? See, struggles.
How did you overcome? Yeah.
Say everyone has to struggle in life to get something. Nothing comes free without struggles. I remember the days when I joined IIT, and since in the science department you are a lady person, so people were thinking that I will not work like any other male faculty member. And I wanted to prove them wrong. So I just give you one example. There was this professor who used to insist that we should come for attend a seminar at 8 o'clock in the night and in our floor. Now there was no lift, and we have to walk the 6 stories, and the ramp was not well defined, in the sense there were no side railings in it. So with a torch in our hand, we used to go up to 6th floor, and then the meeting was held there. And the main purpose is that everyone will see that chemistry people are working. And that was not necessarily, but it was all right for male faculty members. It was a bit hard for me, because leaving 2 small kids, and my in-laws were there, they were helping me a lot. This is one thing I must tell before I go further. Whatever I have achieved as a career, I owe a great deal to many persons. My family, parents, my in-laws, and my husband, they supported. If they were not there, it was not possible. But that's where a very strong supporting system is the necessity for a working woman, so that if she wants to have a good career, it should be there. So these were some instances. And there is another professor who will give me duties early in the morning, 8 o'clock. Again, that's a difficult time. But our director was good. So he said that, no, you need not take such assignments. You can say no to all these extra sort of things. So there are always struggles. For I am citing only small examples, but there are others also. And that one is, women has to work hard to prove that she is equal to all. And that was more prevalent at that time. Now I see that women are not they are accepted by the society. Now, at that time when I was working, it was certain level you can reach as a professor. But beyond that, there are no avenues. But now we have great avenues available for women. We have got our Director General of CSIR. She's a
Yes.
lady, and
Yeah.
that is something great. When I was in the doing job, there was not a, I would not cite any lady professor being vice chancellor of a university. Now we have several universities which are headed by women vice chancellors. So things have changed. India has also changed. And one another thing about India, which is great, is that even in Western countries, I have seen there is a difference in the salaries of a women professor and a man professor. Men were getting higher salary for the same job, the women not getting. And it was said that it is for the women's income is secondary and men's is primary. So therefore their salary should be higher. But in India, we didn't feel this. Even when I was there, our salary and other people's salary was the same. So that is one aspect which was lacking abroad, which was in India. So in several aspects, our system was favoring women faculty members more than what it was happening else. So struggle is all there in the life. You can't forget that you will live without struggles. You have to work.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I agree. I mean, I think as women, we have all had to work much harder than our male counterparts to get to where we have. Yes.
Especially when you are
definitely.
initial member, you work
Yeah.
much more because you
Yeah.
think that this should not be cited as
Of
an
course.
example that we
Yeah.
hired this person and she did not work because of
Of
her
course.
limitations at home.
Yes.
That
yes.
comment I never wanted to listen.
Yeah. Thank you. So can you, I think you've already covered this, but the important factors that help to achieve balance in work and family life. You mentioned your family. Did you have any support from the institute? At that time, there were no nurseries or
No, there was no nursery. There was nothing for the institute was not providing any facilities. So we have to find our own places for keeping the young kids. I don't think even now they have got such facilities, but they give now. Previously, there was maternity leave was only for a few months. Now it has been extended, and they can extend it for 6 months. And then also there is more privileges added. So even the maternity leave is being considered that it will take the new faculty members will have to become parents, and then they should get some support. So that is now acceptable because this was acceptable in foreign countries that you have to provide some support to the women faculty member, but what not given in India. That is something which is now coming up. So we are adding whatever mistakes we have done, they are trying to rectify. Also, that many women people even have to leave the job in between because of their marriage and other restrictions. So their education gets terminated for a while. In order to bring them to the stream, India has started a scheme, UGC and all that, which is you can employ women scientists who have to leave the marriage because of marriage were leaving the job to come in, let them come back into the system. So for 5 years they are giving that fellowship. So that is an initiative that they are adding to married women for trying to come back. Some of them do get normal jobs, and some of them have to get it terminated after period.
I think we have a similar scheme in UK, Marie Curie return to work fellowships, which are open to women who have had a gap in careers. But then what I have seen anyway, that because of that gap in career, the women are always behind the men in progression. But that's something that maybe needs to be dealt with. Well, let's move forward to the next generation. So what advice would you have for someone who's just starting out in a career, in a scientific career?
So that my only advice is that it is a very critical or crucial balance which must be achieved. And it is entirely to the new people to have to take the burden. And because they have to balance the family life and with the career. So they should not make anything career more important or family life more important. And how to strike that balance, that depends on your own mental makeup. Some people can do it, others find it difficult. And main thing is that we should not ignore our family because of career. Because career is there for some time, but family will remain always with you. So whether you are young or old. So you have to see that you do not annoy your family members. You have to take care. You have to be sensitive enough to make a balance. And that is something which depends on entirely your own makeup. Some people
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah, and how can society say, how can institutes support women who want to progress in their careers, who want to you have the intelligence, the desire, but are held back by various reasons? How can the institute or how can the society support? Any ideas?
So far, this institute can only support in granting you leave, flexible hours, that sort of thing is being introduced because this online teaching, because now COVID has killed many initiatives. Say COVID, this 2.5 years, many people have actually lost interest in anything because they are all confined in isolation. And isolation is a sort of punishment where you just don't do anything. So I think COVID has been a great barrier to show the world that there is a balance possible. And so when everyone is sitting at home, they are just doing the same sort of work. So the 2.5 years actually should not be taken into consideration.
Yeah. The other question that I would put, did you ever feel excluded from events, discussions, meetings? As a woman, did you feel included in all the decisions that were made in the institute, all the
there were Senate meetings, there were Board of Governors meetings. So the discussions held in Senate, they were all open, and then they were forward carried out into the Board of Governors. So I have been parts of the Senate meetings because I was a faculty member. So I was attending the Senate meeting, which is open, where Senate is quite powerful and turn down any proposal. And and you have to actually get support from your faculty members. In this case, when you are trying to bring a resolution. I remember that I wanted to introduce a separate, ours was initially School of Polymer Science, a School of Material Science, and then we wanted to start a separate center for polymer science and material science and engineering, but I could not do so because I could not get the support in the Senate. So you bring the proposal, and if you are good enough for conversing your case, you may get it. Otherwise not. So everything is discussed. That is fair. That is not, it's not that women are depart from there. They are present and they have been given some flexible hours also. So now there are more, say what we were facing was very difficult. It's a very old situation. See, you are talking of 52. When India has, when only few years have passed India independence. So 52 I did my high school, 10th, and then 54 intermediate, 12th, and then 56 B.Sc and 58 M.Sc. So that was the sort of career. And things were quite slow at that time in order to accommodate. But later on, things have changed.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for a very, very interesting discussion. Now I'd like to open the session for questions. And I hope we have a lot of questions. So Pradeep, can you unmute?
Yes. I think we've got a couple of open hands, which is by Anita and Vikram.
And Abhay, they have questions.
Abhay. So
Anita,
yeah. I was really amazed hearing the narration of...
And Anita, can you introduce yourself first? Tell us your background.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Anita Kuru. I work at the National Institute for Advanced Studies. And my major work has been on researching on women in STEM. So many of you all in the audience are participants of my research. And I was extremely amazed at what you shared. And I have just two short questions. One, I wanted to know at the school level, the way I understood, you did not really choose to do science. That was not a choice you made at school, but made it later. Is that fine? Is that what you were trying to say? That is one. Second part is, when did you really find your mentor? Looking back, who are the people who really impacted your career?
Yeah, I would say that in high school, science was not popular among girls candidates. In spite of the fact that we have a university Allahabad is known for its family education and culture. It was its cultural center. And in spite of such a big, huge science presence in the Muir College, where people like Meghna Saha and S.S. Bhatnagar have worked, the girls were not actually interested. They were only interested in the arts. So most of the girls were going to the arts. And therefore, there was no necessity felt till that time, it was 52, that there should be science for girls also. It is my elder brother who insisted that now we have to take science, that the science was encouraged in our family. Otherwise, if it was not, if he has not gone to medical, then perhaps it was not going to come into the family. And then there was only one school, and it was insisting that people who have not taken science in the 10th grade cannot enter 11th grade. So we were not given admission in the 11th grade over there. It was luckily that a new school accepted us and we went there for science. That is what has happened. So there was restriction in the sense the girls were not very favored, were not themselves favoring science because they thought it was a difficult subject. It's better to take some art subject. So most of the bright students were going to the arts and not science. Only very few were going. So there was only one school. Then now there are many more schools. There is no dearth of schools in Allahabad offering science at different levels. But at that time in 52, there was only one, followed by the other one announced. So that's how I got science. Yeah.
I'd like to know who was your mentor and how early did you meet your first mentor, if you have had multiple mentors?
Yeah. Actually, so when I went to chemistry department, I met with some very good professors, and I was impressed by them. I won't give the names of anyone in order to offend them. I would not like to do that. And then I went to Glasgow, and I liked the environment, the cooperation, the encouragement. Because of their good facilities and all these things, I was impressed. So it was mentor, I would say, maybe I'll say Glasgow University.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Vikram.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
I know you are from ISRO. Vikram, I know.
Yeah, ma'am.
I have taught you.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, let me introduce myself. I am Vikram, working as head of one division in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, ISRO Trivandrum. And I was actually IKV ma'am student during my M.Tech in Polymer Science in the year 2000. And now only I came to that by the time we met her, she was already 44 years experienced in the teaching field. That I came to know just now. To tell you the fact, madam, you are my role model. And even every Teacher's Day, I post your photo only in my Facebook profile for Guru as a tribute to the Guru. Okay. I have a small question. According to my...
So just before you start, Vikram, this is Pradeep. So if you want to give any Guru Dikshana, I'm there to accept on behalf of Indra.
I can give it online Guru Dakshana, whatever you want. Okay, madam, my question is that along with your teaching roles, you would have held some administrative positions also in the IITs. What is your experience during those administrative roles?
Administrative role is not very challenging, but it is good in the sense that it keeps you aware of the development that takes place. I was actually not any on higher position. I was, say, for chairman, library committee, chairman, hospital advisory committee, that sort of things I was there. So that sort of administration I have done. I was never a dean, I was head of the department, all right, but not the dean. That position I never got.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, Vikram.
Next, we have Abhay.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Can't see you though.
Let me turn my video on. It's not going on. Maybe Pradeep can help me turn the video on. I'm not seeing it. I cannot turn it on.
Let me try if I can, Abhay. But anyway, you continue, Abhay.
Continue.
Okay.
Continue.
Yes, Dr. Varma, it was such a pleasure to see you on the screen. I've been waiting for this session. I happen to be from second batch of IIT Delhi. We graduated in 67. So I may have crossed paths with you, but did not have the privilege of taking a class from you at the time. Besides, I was double E, so there were no chemical engineering courses in the fourth and fifth year for us. So I've lived in US for almost 50 years, just moved back, and I just moved back to India about 4 years ago on a project that fascinates me. It's the area of battery development for electric vehicles. So we are on to designing a next generation of battery for EV, which will be a lot safer and much higher energy density, and using indigenous ingredients. And we are trying to build a solid state model of this battery so that we can eliminate the fire problem as well as reduce the weight of the battery and increase the density even further. So in the process, we are discovering that we are using polymers for all kinds of needs within the electrolyte to make it a solid state. And of course, fire retardant being your specialty is an area of interest to us. I'm building this startup right in Delhi. It's called Slick Next Gen Batteries Private Limited. It's just happening as we speak. And we are setting up a lab in Delhi. I assume you are not far from Delhi, if not in Delhi itself. And I wondered if it's possible to connect with you and possibly pick your brains about how do we go forward in some of these directions we're pursuing.
See, actually, I stay in Gurgaon, which is slightly not that far away from Delhi. And you can take my number of whenever you want to contact me, you can write an email to me and I'll write the details to you. Because I think here other people may not be interested to know whatever the questions you are asking, specifically what sort of electrolytes and all that. Perhaps it will be too
scientific, yeah.
So,
Abhay, this is perhaps not for this forum.
I will introduce you to Indra by email.
Okay, great. Please do that and send me a number as well if you can, because I'll probably make it a point to go see her in person.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Abhay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anil. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something? Professor Varma, did you want to say something?
No, I don't want to say anything.
No, okay. So the next we have Anil Kumar.
Yeah. Good afternoon, madam. This is Anil Kumar from IIT Bombay.
I know you. You
don't have to introduce. 88 to 90. And my introductory polymer course was taught by you, and rest of the life I'm spending with polymers, doing some work and teaching in that domain.
Yeah.
What I had is not a question, but a small query. The type of control and the discipline which you could get from the students in your class, which was not even possible for male professors. So was there a trick or something like it was always amazing that your classes were pin drop silence, you had a full control. And I never seen that anywhere else. So if some tips you have that might help us, that will be very helpful.
No, I just don't have any tips for that. Only thing, the teacher has to be alert and should know where the noise or where the boys are not working. And so that only formula I was that I used to carry a chalk and straight throw on the boy and say, please wake up or please don't make noise. So I think that's what people thought, that if they sort of warning that next time I may be getting out of the class. That's all. Only thing you have to be alert, very alert in the class, because you can understand from which end, because not all people want to study. Some people are always there when you are teaching them. They are not interested. Especially I had a lot of problems when I was teaching computer science batch or electrical engineering. They are very bright students, but at the same time, they don't want to learn chemistry. They used to hate chemistry, and they used to ask, why should we learn chemistry? So that sort of rigidity is there, but one has to anticipate and prepare about it. That's all. You know, Anil, you are a famous popular teacher amongst the students. I know that. How are you doing now? Are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. And I'm happy that I learned polymer chemistry from you and learned a lot of things from you. And that's helping my career.
Okay, that's great. Nice to know.
Thank you. Any further questions, anybody? Are there any other questions? Anyone in the audience? Well, if not, let us conclude with a big applause and thank you to Professor Varma.
Thank you very much, Ritu, for inviting me. I enjoyed being here.
Thank you.
So
Super
Ritu,
incredible
if you are
journey.
concluding, then I have one question. I thought that this is the end of the session, first part of the session. Indra, the question is that today we have a lot of flavors of STEM, STEAM, and STREAM. Now, at the time that you were there, was there any focus at all on something called STEM?
When you were, at which time you are
I'm
referring
talking of
to?
1966 when you joined IIT Delhi.
No, at that time, I think STEM was not highlighted to that extent. Girls were coming, but were much fewer. Even in IITs, there was a lot of this thing. The girls' proportion was much less than the boys. Initially, there were hardly any girls in electrical or computer science disciplines. So STEM is basically to see whether they are at science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. So there was a sort of improper balance. But now we have got a huge classes where the number of girls are quite large. So we have got now a acceptance by the society to have more girls in which they are being able.
One more question: that did you ever get the feeling that there was a glass ceiling?
No.
No.
In what way you are?
Glass ceiling means in terms of your career progression. That did you feel that you were, you didn't become the dean or you didn't become a director of an institute because you were a female?
No, actually, no, I never felt that. Because that was acceptable. Because once you know that it's not going to happen,
so there's a difference. I would not say that. I think there was a glass ceiling, Pradeep. This is Poonam Varma, Professor Varma's daughter. And I am an IIT graduate myself. I did my B.Tech from IIT from 1981 to 85. And in fact, I am now based out of US. I think my mother definitely felt the glass ceiling. Probably she's not explaining it right. As your question on STEM, I can tell you there was, even in 80s, there was no STEM in India. Okay, there was no STEM even in US, forget about India. So I would not, the concept of STEM has really come across in the last 20 years, at least globally. Glass ceiling is there, and I know my mother definitely growing up, seeing my mother go through the process, and we are very proud of her.
How lovely, Poonam. This is so nice to
it
hear,
is
mother and daughter together. So lovely.
My son is also on the call. He, in fact, has a question, but we'll get
I see his hand is raised. Ravi Varma?
Yes. So anyway, let me continue. She is a true trailblazer, and she has been my role model throughout my life. And I'm not saying that because she is my mother, but I'm saying that as a person. I worked for 30 years at Bell Labs in US, and the advice that she has given me, raising 2 kids in this country, and the support that I needed in US, and keeping a career, she has been a role model and a support throughout, even though she was 7,000 miles away. She never made me feel like she was 7,000 miles away. So she has had a long journey. She has been a trailblazer for all of us. I cannot be more proud of her. She went through a lot of, the glass ceiling was there, as she kind of mentioned. I'll be more blunt than she is, because she wants to be more, she's more politically, does not want to say some things. I think the Bhatnagar Award that she rightfully deserved in India, she did not get because in 1980s, because that was age bound in India. She did not get in 1980s because they were not giving Bhatnagar Awards to women in that time. They started giving Bhatnagar Awards later on to women. So that's an example of a glass ceiling that I can definitely cite. Yes. So there are others. Yes, she was not she did not care for administration. That's why she did not care for deans or other things. As a head of the department, it was her championship that Center of Material Science is now a department. I think She and a lot of other people along with her kind of started that center and now made it into a department. Of course, that happened a lot after she retired, but she has been pursuing that even in her retirement.
Amazing, Poonam. Thank you. Thank you for
Ladies
filling
and
us in.
gentlemen, I would like to propose a big round of applause for Poonam because for highlighting these particular aspects.
Yes, of course.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we've also got Ravi. Now, Ravi,
yeah.
What would you
Let's
like
move on to
say?
Ravi.
Yeah, I just want to say hi to Nani. I'm Professor Varma's grandson and Poonam's son. And I'm also in US. I'm actually a physician, spine surgeon here. So science focus has continued through the generations. And I know the highlight of this is mostly talking about Nani's career and her progression through science, some of the struggles she had. My add to this discussion is people may think that, okay, she was very successful in her career, which she was, but they should recognize and understand that she did not lose focus in any of her family responsibilities or priorities and duties. She was very much a part of her children's life and her grandchildren's life. She was very instrumental in teaching us many things as well. One of the things that I know, she's always tried to teach chemistry to even us. I usually tried to avoid learning chemistry from Nani, but she always used to try to teach us chemistry. But the thing I did learn from Nani was how to read and write Hindi, actually. And so her teaching actually expanded beyond just the chemistry and everything else. And she was very instrumental in home life. And so, people may think that, oh, this woman must be very successful. She may have avoided or had not done much activity at home, but that is not true. And I just wanted to highlight that component of it because she did talk about balance and that becomes difficult. And I think a lot of that support did come from Nana and did come from other parts of her family to allow her to do sabbaticals and do long distance and going to NYU and going to Sweden and going to these other places because even nowadays, people think twice about those kinds of big shifts and separation.
So, Ravi, thank you very much. From my side, I have two comments to make on what you have said. Number one is that if I have a spine problem, then I'll come and see you in the US, Number two is that, you see, it is really a question of values, how Indra balanced her work commitments and family commitments. It's really very, very admirable because the work times as well as family times would have been quite challenging. We are talking of what today is what 2022, so 22 plus 35, 57 years back. Wow. Now I see that Vikram has got a raised hand. Vikram, this is your raised hand from earlier times or you've got a new question?
There's Lakshmi as well.
Earlier raised hand only.
Okay, so who else is there?
Lakshmi, yeah.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, Muthu, how are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. So this is Muthulakshmi. I am Muthulakshmi and I am, the last student of IKV ma'am, actually, PhD student. So, people say she's a role model. She's actually she's everything to me. She's like a god to me, actually. She has, whatever I am, she is actually, she has advised me in each and every part of my life. And I had a break in my career, and because of her, now I get her advice, and now I'm an assistant professor at Azim Premji University, Bangalore. Ma'am, I have a question to you. You have been teaching for almost 45, 50 years. So, and the diversity is increasing. You see different kind of people doing, are getting into all these courses, doing STEM, science, whatever. So what is the advice you would like to give to me, or people like us who are new in career, what we should be working on so that, whatever the glass ceiling, Poonam had talked about, or all the other things is, I mean, how we can break our, how we can go forward in our, career.
Muthu, you know that I have been talking to you so often, and I know that you are very intelligent, hardworking, and both the qualifications are necessary. That one has to be very hardworking in order to rise in this one. So the balance is basically hard work and look at other career and try to try strike a balance. You have a well-settled family. You have done a lot of work for your family. I know that, and I'm sure you will succeed whatever you're doing. You are really good at this. Okay. Nice to. I know I have been giving advice to you officially.
I want that advice to go to everyone, ma'am. That is why I'm asking.
No, because now that everyone has heard whatever they wanted to know, it's fine with me. I wish you all the best. Okay.
Thank you,
You have
Muthu.
started. You have, after a break, she has started the career.
Okay.
She has some problems in family, and she stayed strong. She is a very strong lady. She was very hard.
Thank you, Muthu Lakshmi, for bringing this to our notice. Thank you very much. Anybody, any questions, please ask. Last opportunity to ask questions. Well, if not, then thank you so much
so
for
once again, Ritu,
this
is Pradeep from Sydney. I want to close the session by giving not only a very big thanks to Indra for the inspirational story that we have had, but also a very big thanks to Ritu for conducting this session. And so please give a big round of applause to the two lovely ladies today as we wind up the session.
Thank you very much.
And one last minute over. I think I must acknowledge the contribution of Lata Surendra. Are you there, Lata? Lata, are you there?
Yes.
Can you show yourself? So Lata has been instrumental in making this happen. She has been in constant contact with Professor Varma. She has spoken to her, had many discussions with her. Thank you, Lata. Lata is also an IIT Ph.D. from IIT. She's my batchmate. She has done a lot of work with deprived children, teaching science to deprived children in India, in Hyderabad, where she lives. So thank you, Lata, as well, for your help and contributions. And thank you
very much.
So thank you. Around to three ladies today, Lata, Ritu, and Indra. And Lata, this is Pradeep from Sydney saying hi to you.
Hi, thank you.
And you want to say something, Lata?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. It was very inspirational. I would like to thank Professor Varma. It was really inspirational to hear her story. I heard little bits of it before, but now I heard the whole story. It's really, it's a lesson on how to manage life.
So in other words, in all those chats that you had with her, she never told you anything.
No, she did.
Jokes apart.
Lata and I knew.
Yeah, we heard much of it.
I am simply joking. I'm just simply.
We had a lot more.
One thing I forgot to say in between, that my son Pradeep is also extraordinarily cooperative and helps me a lot. So I would like to acknowledge the support I have got from Pradeep and his family. His son, actually he knows more about computers than I know. So his son Jayant and Jeevan and his daughter, all of Jyoti, all of them are really nice people, and they have been helping me to stay whatever. So my gratefulness to my children, grandchildren who are here with me in India. Okay.
Lovely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll see how we can take this further. Thank you very much, everybody.
Closing today's session, enjoy your morning cup of tea, afternoon glass of lassi, or an evening glass of wine, wherever you are in whatever part of the world. Take care. This is Pradeep from Sydney saying bye to you, and a very good morning to you, Ritu, in UK. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.